But I want to do more than just tell you what the waves look like. In this next story, I'll introduce you to a man who will take us back in time to share his first-hand account of the Valdez tsunami after the 1964 earthquake. Early spring in South Central Alaska. Ice chunks floating with the current, not too far from the shoreline, but as good of time as any for tsunami danger.
Tsunamis don't have a season. Earthquakes happen all the time. About 85% of tsunamis are caused by significant earthquakes, and those can happen all year long.
In fact, it was March 27th, 1964, when now 70-year-old Dan Kendall witnessed the Valdez tsunami that succeeded the 9.2 Great Alaska earthquake.
My perspective and experience is told from the standpoint of a 12-year-old. And so this is a boy that this is the biggest adventure that could ever come a young boy's way.
Kendall and his family had lived in Valdez for about 8 years.
We left Valdez the next day at noon after the earthquake and tidal waves. It's obvious the town wasn't habitable after the earthquake.
That evening, Kendall went to the dock to greet a ship with 2 boys he knew from school.
After a while, they said, well, let's play hide and go seek. And we did that for a little while, and I realized it wasn't hide and go seek, it was ditch Danny.
As it was near dinner time, he decided to head home, the boys staying behind. It was the last time he would ever see them.
As I'm going home off the dock, other people I know are walking onto the dock. And so I walked home into the house, and the earthquake started.
And within minutes, a tsunami was destroying Valdez coast. Kendall and a few of his siblings went into the street, splashing in the water that was making its way far past the shoreline.
We walked down basically till we got our feet wet from the water coming in. And that's kind of when we came to our senses and said, hey, we shouldn't be here.
Not knowing he was witnessing a deadly disaster.
The wave didn't come in this far with a strong force like you'd imagine. It came into town like an extra high tide and brought a lot of debris with it, and you know, there was nothing that wasn't touched by the earthquake and the after effects, the waves.
At the time, the tsunami was wiping out the dock, and the ship onlookers were now gone.
I knew all of them. There were 33, something like that. They found one body, and that was our neighbor directly behind us.
And later, his mother asked him to take on a burden, one that would help ease his neighbor's trauma.
She took me around to the family's houses to tell that I saw their dad or their son or their brother on the dock. That was probably the most emotional part of that day, completely.
Now, 58 years later, looking back at a photo of the dock's ruins.
And, you know, the life of Valdez was right there at that moment.
Treating this picture as a memorial.
You know, this represents to me the people that perished on that day.
Reflecting on the moment.
There was something bigger than me that told me to go home, and I did that.
A 12-year-old, keeping his life just blocks from where people were losing theirs.
Well, my Protestant friends always ask me if I've been saved. And I say, well, I was saved on March 27th, 1964 at 5:36 p.m. I mean, it's a clear event in my life that just changed dramatically.
A humbling story from someone in the midst of a disaster. It shows a piece of history and just one tale of what Alaskans endured on that Good Friday nearly 60 years ago. But now that we really do know what tsunamis look like, I'd like to help prepare you in case you ever encounter one. Here's what experts say you should do if a tsunami is on its way. At the National Tsunami Warning Center in Palmer,
short period alarm.
Scientists like Terry Nichols are working around the clock.
4.2. But you can see it's located in an area where there are a lot of earthquakes. That's what these red dots are for.
To warn you of a potential tsunami coming your way.
And so this is only a 4.2 magnitude earthquake, so there's nothing really to worry about.
We encourage people that the first sign of danger, whether it's a warning from the National Tsunami Warning Center or a long and strong shaking or seeing the water recede and do unusual things or make unusual sounds, is to get up and move away from the coastline as